Hi, everybody. I want to thank you so much for being a loyal listener and follower of Living Ageless and Bold. And I'm so excited to announce that this is our 75th episode. So tune in and hear the amazing story of the making of Kate Spade and Frances Valentine by co-founder Elyce Arons. It's an unbelievable story and a really special one for our 75th. So thank you again. Please follow, share this with your friends. Thank you for making it what it is. I so appreciate all of you. Welcome to the Living Ageless and Bold podcast. Each episode, I bring you amazing women who inspire, educate, and share their experiences and journeys along the way. So grab a glass of wine or a cup of coffee, find a cozy spot, and let's relax and have some fun hearing what can be accomplished after 55. Okay, ladies, all my fashionistas, we are in for a treat today. We have with us today Elyce Arons, who, get ready for this, co-founder of both Kate Spade and Frances Valentine, two iconic brands. I think everybody listening and watching has something Kate Spade in their closet. I know I do. My daughter does. And it's such a treat to have you here, Elyce. Thank you for joining me.
Thank you for having me. A pleasure.
Okay, so how does a girl who grew up on a farm in Kansas, one of four girls, get into fashion?
I swear I'm the most unlikely person to be sitting in a New York City fashion showroom. But so I grew up, I was the youngest of four daughters on a real working farm. So it was, 24/7 on the farm. There's no downtime at all. And my mother is from the East Coast and met my father. She was a flight attendant for a period of time, met my father on a plane and ended up as a housewife in Kansas and, quickly.
That's actually could be a reality show today, if you think about it.
The story is hysterical. And it would take too long to tell, but it's really funny. And she was actually a design student from the East Coast. And so she ended up as an illustrator for a lot of newspapers and retailers in the Wichita area where I grew up in Kansas. And she would take Women's Wear Daily, and I would, race home from school and read Women's Wear Daily every day. And I loved fashion magazines when I could afford them, or when my older sisters would buy one. I just poured through them all the time. I always loved fashion and became a very young vintage shopper way early on when most people thought it was gross and not cool to do. And I loved it because to find old, beautiful things that were so well made and just from a different era and had a story to tell was so interesting to me.
So how did you find them? I mean, you grew up on a working farm.
Yes.
So how did you find vintage things?
So Wichita is, one of the largest cities in Kansas, if not the largest. And there were they weren't called vintage shops then. They were Salvation Armies and thrift shops. And so my sisters and I would pile into the car and, go to find great stuff. And, if you had $10, it went a long way back then.
Right. It's funny. My daughter in college, high school and college, that's what they would do. And they would love finding stuff in the thrift shops. So still a thing.
Yeah. And some of my most special pieces are those because they were hand beaded dresses that, were maxi length, and they were just beautiful. The beading itself and the quality of the fabric. Yeah. And, that's to me what made them so special, that they lasted that long.
Yeah. Wow. So being the youngest of four, did any of your older sisters go into anything fashion related?
No, all pretty much in the arts, just because my mother was an artist and kind of pushed us in that direction. So, illustration, and my older sister Willow became a ballet dancer and moved to New York when she was 17 to dance with the Joffrey School. So that was how I ended up here, because even though my mother would bring us to New York when we were 14 years old as sort of this is the world, my sister had moved up here. So after I graduated from college, I had a place to land to find my own apartment. And, it would have been daunting otherwise. I was lucky to have someone here who welcomed me with open arms. So that's how I got to New York.
we've had several guests who literally went to New York with $1,000 in their pocket, nowhere to stay. I mean, nothing, and
Yep.
just tried it.
Yep.
Okay, but we jumped a little bit ahead. I want to go back to college because that's kind of where a lot of this started.
Right. So I went to University of Kansas for my freshman year, and a couple doors down from me was this young woman by the name of Kate Brosnahan. And, you know, we didn't really pay too much attention to each other the first few days because I had just gotten back from a trip to New York and I had all my very trendy outfits and my purple parachute pants. And, you know, I was too cool for school, and she was dressed very preppy, and which was really coming about at the time. And the preppy handbook was coming, like all of that. And so I didn't really pay much attention to her, nor she to me. And then we started hanging out in the same group of girls together to go to fraternity parties. And we just hit it off and we became best friends. You know, within a few months, we were inseparable. And
let's tell everyone who Kate Brosnahan is.
Kate Brosnahan founded Kate Spade with me, and it was Kate, Pamela Bell, our other partner, Andy Spade, Kate's boyfriend at the time, and I all did this together. And Andy had the brilliant idea of using Katie's first name and his last name to create the outside label.
So I was going to ask that who decided, you know, Kate Spade. I thought maybe they were together already when that happened. So it was her, because it could have been Elyce Arons.
Right. They were together as boyfriend and girlfriend at the time. Okay. And, you know, the company had a whole different name when we started it. And then when it really came down to sort of a few days before the show, and Andy had come up with, let's use her first name and my last name. It was undeniable because it was such a good name. It could have been, she could have been anybody. It was just such a great name that we all were sort of like, yes.
So were you all still in college when this happened, or young 20s?
So I had moved to New York. Katie and I were supposed to go on a backpacking trip to Europe after our senior year. And I had just enough money saved. And I said, Katie, I can either go to Europe with you or move to New York. And, you know, it's always been my dream to move to New York. So she went to Europe. I went to New York. And after, I guess, about 3 months in Europe, she came back through JFK Airport and called me frantic and said, I have $5. And I said,
that's the story. Yeah.
And live here. So Katie moved in to my apartment, and then Andy moved up about, it was the following year, but about 6 months later. So we
and then how, like, who decided, you know, what was the first thing you guys put together? Was it the handbag?
So I have to go back a little bit because, you know, we were broke, and you're broke in New York. No matter what, if you have to make it on your own, you're taking every job you can take. You know, you want to stick to your career choices, but I had 3 jobs. I worked as a PR assistant for J.G. Hook, which is an old company. A lot of people might remember it's a very old, preppy East Coast company. So I had a PR assistant job there, but I either hostessed or waited tables at night. And I did catering jobs on weekends because I had to have enough money to pay off my student loans as well as pay rent and just live in New York City. It's, you know, it's crazy expensive. So Katie got a job at Mademoiselle magazine through a temp agency that we had both used when we got here. And then after Andy moved up, he was catering with me. And my sister helped us get that job because she was the manager at the catering company. And then I know it's crazy. It's crazy. And then he eventually got a job in advertising. So we all worked in those fashion jobs for several years. And then the idea for the handbag company came up because Katie had been the accessories editor at Mademoiselle for many years. And what she noticed was a lack of accessible, chic bags in the market that she could use for styling for photo shoots. It was either the LL Bean canvas bag or, you know, one of the, really fancy European leather bags with a lot of hardware. And there wasn't really anything in between. And, she knew what was missing. And so Andy kind of talked her into, I think you should start your own handbag company. You and Elyce have always wanted to have a company together. And so that's kind of how Kate Spade was born. And
but you say it like this. So I owned a retail store for 10 years. I invented a product that was in the fashion industry. So trying to get that manufactured, and it's not so easy just to say, oh, we're going to create a handbag and, get it manufactured. And I'm guessing you went overseas. I mean, I just know what I went through.
You did
it here.
We did it because it was New York, in the late 80s, early 90s, they were still manufacturing everything here. So there were a lot of handbag manufacturers in New York City at the time. And thank God we didn't know how difficult it was going to be. We went in blindly because we probably wouldn't have undertook, the entire thing. But we didn't. We started doing it. Katie found a pattern maker in the back of Women's Wear Daily in the Help Wanted section and cut out, basically she made craft paper models of what she wanted, because neither one of us took design classes. And she taped them together with Scotch tape and then took them to a pattern maker and said, this is what I want. So the pattern maker made the pattern, and then it was time to find a manufacturer. We found this manufacturer from Ecuador named Hernan Alvarez, and he was one of the small handbag manufacturers. And I think it was really, it's fate when you meet someone, because he was one of the most lovely people we've ever known. He's still a friend today, because not everybody is so nice and willing to help young startups.
Oh, absolutely. I went through that.
Yeah. It's really difficult. And, trying to buy materials to even make samples, companies you call, material companies, they're like, what? You want 10 yards? No, our minimum is 200 yards, and, laughing and hanging up the phone at you. So in fact, Katie had to call a burlap sack company, because one of our first groups was a burlap group. And, she had to call a burlap sack company who made potato bags, because the burlap people would not sell us any material. So our first bags were made out of burlap from potato sacks, which is really,
but such a great story, and this is, young people who are listening, and we've heard this from a lot of guests. You've got to have resilience. You've got to go for it. If this is what you want, you'll figure it out. So you made Kate Spade's first purses were potato bags.
Right.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah. And we moved out of their apartment for, I want to say, year and a half, 2 years maybe. And, the apartment was down in Tribeca, and it was a fifth floor walk up. It had a hand operated elevator in it, but no air conditioning, no nothing. And, I, of course, am such an early riser from growing up on the farm. So I would be at their door, at 7:30 every morning. Yeah. But I always brought coffee.
Wow. So who did you all sell to? Like who was your very first customer? Who said yes?
Our first customers were some really great specialty stores, mostly on the East Coast, as well as Charivari, which was a specialty store kind of like Barney's back in the day. And they had many locations in Manhattan. Barney's picked us up. And then the bigger department stores didn't come around for a few more months after that. But, once you're in some really great specialty stores, those buyers from bigger stores are always kind of looking at fashion magazines and seeing what's out there. And the buzz just started happening for us. So it just really, it was over about a 2-year period that just,
exploded.
Bang. Yeah.
And I'm assuming Katie got you into Mademoiselle, or got some of the purses in.
All of the Condé Nast magazines were calling in samples all the time from us. Actually, I have to say, of those magazines, Vogue was the first one to cover us.
Oh, that's so exciting.
Wow. It's great. But it was really a great thing for them, because they now had an American handbag designer offering up all of these things that Katie had identified were missing in the market. So it was really the right place, the right time for us to start.
So how long did you all, the four of you, before you started growing, When did you know, okay, it's time to get into an office or
Oh.
we need more people?
We were kind of exploding out of their apartment, even though it was a loft space. They still lived there, and they needed privacy, and they were getting married. So we thought, okay, now's the time to get a real office. So our other partner, Pamela Bell, found us a space in Hernan's manufacturing building on 29th Street, right off 7th Avenue. And it was a fur building, which means all of the people making things in there were basically furriers. And there was fur everywhere. Even if you didn't have fur in your office, there were floating. It's like if you have a cat, they're just floating fur balls everywhere all the time. But it was an interesting space. It was really grungy and rattletrap when we rented it, but and we had no money to fix it up. So we painted the floors, the walls, and the ceilings all white. And it made it kind of a bright, happy space. And you washed the windows, and we found our furniture on the street. I remember walking home from a fabric appointment one day, and there were these giant steel Mad Men style desks out on the street. I mean, they were really heavy, but we were like, oh my God, somebody's getting the free desks for us. So we ran back to the office, borrowed some hand trucks, and carted those things. We had 5 of them back to the office. And those were our first desks because we just didn't have money to afford to buy anything.
It's so funny. My husband gave me a plaque when I first started my entrepreneurial journey that says overnight success takes 15 years. But it's so true. Like people think, oh, Kate Spade, this was this easy, they designed these bags, but telling those stories, because that's really what business is. You've got to hustle. You've got to find things like that. We did the same thing. We opened a retail store. And I remember we went to the electrical company to get, the big barrels that they, roll the cords on, because we put a tablecloth on them and they were beautiful displays, because we couldn't when we first started, we couldn't afford big, beautiful, $5,000, $10,000 displays. Yeah. So you do what you have to do.
That's right. And it worked, right?
Yeah. And then, so how long were you all in business before you sold to Neiman Marcus?
So we started the company in 1993, and it was all handbags at that point. Then we added different product categories. We added stationery, we added footwear. And as time went on, we signed licenses for tabletop, for bedding, for fragrance and beauty. We did a lot of different things in licensing, and then expanded both, domestically to all the department stores, Saks and Neiman's and Bergdorf's and Bendel's, to international business. So a large part of my job later on was expanding the international business. So I remember 5 trips to Japan in 1 year.
Oh, and wow.
I know. It was great. I loved it. It was really fun. And I was single at the time, so it was a great time to be doing that. And then we ended up selling the business. We sold 56% of the business in 1999 to Neiman Marcus. We were looking for a partner who could really take the company to the next level with us. And we thought, my gosh, they're the best retailer in the world. So we met the family at the time, the Smith family, who owned Neiman Marcus then. And we really all hit it off. It was terrific. And then in 2006, we sold the balance of the company to them. And we're out after that. And it was a 13-year run. We loved every minute of it. It was like our first child. But at 13 years, it kind of felt like the time was right. And, it was time to leave.
I get that. I did my retail store. I only lasted 10 years. I sold out to my business partner. She lasted another 10. I'm like, I don't know how you did that. I didn't have another holiday season in me.
Well, I'll tell you, it was, I think, better and easier with 4 people, because we each kind of took on different responsibilities over time. But I didn't realize after selling it and leaving the company, all of us left at the same time. What I didn't realize was that my identity was so tied up in owning and running a business that when I left, my husband would introduce me. Oh yeah, she used to own Kate Spade. But after a couple of weeks, you kind of, used to be it just kind of, you're sort of like, oh my God, I'm a used to be. And so you just, you don't realize how much of a part of it is in you. And, luckily I had 3 children by that point while Kate Spade was growing. And I loved spending time with my kids, and I took cooking classes and filled my time doing, cooking classes, and I learned how to play tennis. So I'd play tennis every day. And I joined the Parents Association at school and ran a bunch of events and became PA president, and then eventually the board chair at the school for many years. And we were building a high school at the time. So it was a challenging time and a wonderful time in which I learned so much. But Katie and I both really missed fashion. So in 2014, we started talking about getting the gang back together and doing something new because, we'd had 8 years off where we'd done all of this great stuff. And our kids were sort of like, okay, I don't want you to come to class anymore. I want you to school.
Right. I'm good, Mom. I'm good.
So we started talking about it, and Pamela had started her own business, and Andy Spade had started his own marketing agency. So Katie and I talked about doing this together, and we started Frances Valentine with handbags and shoes again. And those were really what she loved doing most. So we launched it to the public and to wholesale in 2016 on Valentine's Day. And
I was going to say, explain the name, Frances Valentine.
2 family names we really loved. And, we had a whole lot of names, but we thought we knew we couldn't use Kate Spade, but we wanted it to relate to Katie in a way that was personal. So there are 2 family names of hers they were both on our list in different places, but one was Frances, it was on her father's side, and one was Valentine on her mother's side. And so we put those names together and we thought, okay, we'll create this woman who is your best friend, who is your favorite aunt, and that person in the world who's got great style, but who makes you laugh harder than anybody else. And that's who Frances Valentine is.
Oh, I love that. Because we all have a friend like that.
We do.
Yeah.
Yes. And Katie was mine.
And very tragically, and I have covered on this podcast mental health and suicide, and we have past episodes about that. But very tragically, you lost your best friend who died by suicide.
Yes.
And that, it had to have been, I had a business partner. Like I know working with your best friend, and first of all, I'm so sorry that happened. Especially building these companies, and you have so much, and now you're building this new one, and this happens, but you stuck with the company. That's pretty strong for you to do. Well, I know she'd want me to, and I really felt like I had to for numerous reasons. Her legacy is important, and she was not that person. She was so full of joy. She was so gracious. She was funnier than any comedian you've ever met, but she was also very shy. So I think in creating what we create here, we really continue to share a lot of who she was, and really try and spread joy through all the products that we make. We, after we lost Katie, I really wanted to do a tribute to her, but I felt like handbags wasn't really the right place to do it. So we created 2 of her favorite vintage clothing pieces. And one was a caftan that she wore on every vacation that we ever went on. And the other was this embroidered sweater that we had found thrifting decades before. And so we remade those and put them out, and our customers loved them. Like they sold out immediately, and we reordered them, and they sold out again and again. And then everyone started asking us for all of the vintage pieces that we were using to style our ad campaigns. And those were the pieces that Katie and I had collected over all these years. Yeah.
So I swore we'd never get into apparel because it wasn't really the business we started. Right. But our customers kept asking for it. So, and I was like, we'll never make pants. Now we make pants. We'll never make jackets. Now we make jackets. So we have a full apparel collection. And the real difference between this and any other ready-to-wear company is really the joyful aspect, and it celebrates women's own personal style and how they want to dress. It is bold, it is colorful, and it's really unique. And there are vintage silhouettes that we make more modern with modern fabrics, and we add pockets to just about everything we can because everybody wants pockets.
Of course.
But they're really unique, and probably the most important thing to me, aside from how they look and how they make people feel, is the quality. And it goes back to those vintage pieces that I used to collect a long time ago. I bought them because the quality was so amazing. So it's really important to us that whatever we produce, that it can remain in your closet for the rest of your life, that it's not trendy, that it's a classic piece, that you feel so good about that piece that you'll pull it out in 5 years to wear it, or 10 years to wear it, or pass it on to your daughter or your granddaughter. And so the other part when we started this business was making things that were a luxury feel, but also accessible to people so that people could afford to buy them. Nobody needs a $2,500 bag or pair of shoes. You can get that same quality and design for $500 or $400. And that was really our mantra, was stick to being accessible luxury. So it is the quality. It is really the sort of the aesthetic of the brand, as well as, making the price point affordable for people.
Yeah. And it's beautiful. So pink is my color, and I was on there. And then that pink outfit.
Oh, the pink sweater I was wearing earlier today, but it's a little warm in here, so I took it off.
Yeah. So
everybody. It's great. Pink's a great color.
And it was an accident, and I'm so thankful that now, because I just wear pink I do podcasts everywhere I go. You can't not be happy wearing pink.
Yeah, it's true. It's true.
A happy color.
It is.
So you have a couple stores, actual brick and mortars, correct?
Yes, we have 9. We've got 2 in New York, 1 on Madison, 1 in Sag Harbor, 2 in Texas, 1 Houston, 1 Dallas, 1 in Naples, Florida, 1 in Palm Beach, Florida, 1 in Atlanta, 1 in Alexandria, and 1 in Birmingham.
And I'm in Northern Virginia. So I was just telling my friends that I was interviewing you, and I'm like, there's a shop in Old Town Alexandria, and my daughter works there too. So we're going to go by. And,
fantastic.
Yes. Yeah. And you're doing some pop-ups too, right? I love that whole concept.
We do pop-ups where we can, and particularly trunk shows. If I can be in an area and spend several days there, we'll do trunk shows. So I'm going down to Tennessee in a couple weeks, where we'll be in Chattanooga, Knoxville, and Nashville. And then, so when I can, and I can spend, a week doing it, I love to do it because I really, really love to talk to customers. I was in Texas all week last week, in Dallas and Houston. And it's fun because it gives me so much inspiration and design ideas for, something that some of our customers want that they're not seeing in our collection. But,
right. And you said there were certain things you never would have done.
No, I wouldn't have. People kept asking for it. They're like, what about those pants you had on? I was like, oh my gosh, those are my cigarette pants from the 50s. But we make them now, but we make them with a stretch material. And so that they fit everybody better. The fit of things is just better now.
Yeah, I'm seeing that a lot more too, where it's the stretch. I'm like, ooh, this is a really good idea. So what's next for Frances Valentine?
So what's next? Right now we're launching fall, which is why I'm going to be on the road a lot. We're launching fall in all of our retail stores and on our website, and in our retail accounts, like Neiman's and Saks and Dillard's. So we're launching that. So I'm on the road a lot doing that. We are selling spring right now to all of the wholesale accounts. So we've got coterie at the Javits Center in a week and a half. And then I'm designing fall downstairs with the design team. So fall next year. So there's that. And then I just finished working on it, but I've got a book coming out next spring in June, really talking about all my good memories of my best friendship with Katie, and the 2 great adventures we had together starting 2 different companies.
That's amazing. And she has a daughter. Is her daughter involved with you at all or in the fashion space?
She is, she actually lives with her dad out in California
Okay.
and is in college now. So I'm trying to leave her alone, but
Yeah.
we'll see. It's always on offer for her to come and join us in New York.
Yeah. Oh, that's wonderful. Oh my God. What an exciting story and venture. We didn't even get into, and you're a mom. You have 3 girls yourself.
3 daughters. Katie is my oldest, named after Katie.
Oh,
Jane is my middle daughter, and Marnie is my youngest daughter. And Katie just graduated from college, is working now in Manhattan. Jane is a senior at Emory in Atlanta, and Marnie is, she'll be a freshman at Tulane, but she's spending her first semester in Rome right now.
you think they'll follow in your footsteps?
I hope so. They've all worked at Francis Valentine in one
Okay.
role or another over the years, mostly at the retail level, but they're great salespeople, which I love. So you never know. I always try and drag them in.
That's so exciting. So fun. Make it a family business.
Yes, exactly.
So we wrap up every episode with the same 2 questions. What is the greatest thing you have accomplished since you turned 50?
Oh gosh, the greatest thing I've accomplished. You know what? I actually think, well, starting Francis Valentine was one thing because I did turn 50 before I did that. But there's another one, and I've never written a book before. And writing a book has been such an experience and taken me down memory lane in such a good way. And kind of felt like a journal. But, part of the reason I wrote it was because I do feel like I'm starting to forget things. And I wanted a place where I could write those memories down where it was a good, happy place. So that's the first question. Sorry, I made it too long.
No, you did. There's never too long. Do you have a title of the book yet?
Yes, I do. It is, We Might Just Make It After All. It's good. It really talks about how we came as struggling kids to New York and made it. So
I love it.
Really great.
And you can already visualize that it could be a movie. So many things that you were talking about through this whole conversation is so visual that you could see it. So I'll keep my fingers crossed for that. And then where do you see yourself in 10 years?
Oh, gosh. Well, hopefully still in this office, just with a larger staff and, Francis Valentine doing great. And it'd be great if my daughters were here with me. So that's, hopefully here in this office.
That's awesome. Thank you. So everyone who knows anyone who loves Kate Spade, which is everybody, make sure you share this episode. It's just it's so great to hear the journey. That's what I love, because people just think, oh, she's so lucky. She just woke up and did this. And it is a journey. And I can't wait to read the book when it comes out next year. So thank you, Elyce. And then Francis Valentine is the website, correct? Just
Yes,
francisvalentine.com.
Yep, exactly. And we make handbags, shoes, apparel, jewelry. So we've got everything covered. And fall
and it's
is
fabulous.
Yeah, fall is fabulous. Love it. It's selling out quickly.
Yeah. Oh, and I can't wait to check out the store in Alexandria. So that'll be great. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Christina. Thanks for having me.
Thank you for listening or for watching this episode of Living Ageless and Bold. If you haven't already, please make sure you hit subscribe. And if you like the episode, I hope that you will give us a great review. You can also head over to livingagelessandbold.com and sign up for information, inspiration, and exclusive opportunities for us, women over 55. Thanks for listening. And remember, no matter what you do, keep living ageless and bold.